Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We are live on News Hub here at Addis Ababa. I am Alfred Ocansey. Coming up tonight, another twist in the matter of the stolen cash from the home of former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Abnadapa as the Office of Special Prosecutor freezes her bank accounts containing substantial amounts of money in millions of dollars and cedis. We have the details coming up shortly. Stay with us. Also, renowned statesmen have raised concerns about the leadership of Ghana in the Three Business Forum held earlier today. Tonight, we'll bring you excerpts of the forum, including a conversation on the leadership and some reactions on the issues that came up earlier today. Also, the World Bank has held back on some loans to Uganda because of the country's anti-LGBTQ+ law. Tonight, we ask if there's any cause for alarm or concern for Ghana, which is currently on the verge of passing its anti-LGBTQ+ law. Stay with us. This is Ghana Tonight. Let's hear from you. We're very interactive on all the social media platforms, specifically on Facebook. You can connect with us. The hashtag is Ghana Tonight. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
Sources have confirmed that the Office of the Special Prosecutor has frozen 2 bank accounts of former Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources Cecilia Abnadapa. One account contained 48 million Ghana cedis and another contained $5 million, the sources said. This forms part of an investigation into the circumstances that led to the former government appointee keeping such huge amounts of money in her home. Madame Cecilia Dapa tendered her resignation in a letter to President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo on Saturday, July 22, barely 24 hours after news of some foreign cash stolen from her bedroom came to light. Ghana is suffering a major leadership crisis. That is the damning verdict of some of the country's most accomplished politicians and experts who joined Three Business for the latest in its series of thought leadership lectures.
At some point, I just asked myself, so who are the leaders? Who is leading us? You have people who have not been voted for, they have no position anywhere, but they appear to be taking decisions and deciding for us and disrespecting us.
A leader is somebody who has a vision, but more important, the leader has to have around him executing capacity. That's the capacity to execute the vision.
Economist Professor Godfrey Bobking has stirred attention, suggesting that the country's current dire economic challenges could potentially be overcome within the span of the next 3 decades. According to him, the delay in the country heading to the IMF crisis of the Bank of Ghana, coupled amongst others, require serious governance reforms in their immediacy.
In all of these things, because leadership first failed, it is the governance failures that is manifesting explicitly in economic mismanagement, financial improprieties, procurement breaches, and the rest of them. It's the governance.
A Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry, Dr. Stephen Amoah, has challenged the NDC minority in Parliament to provide specific details on the central bank's governor's wrongdoing before requesting his resignation. He argues that the bank's 2022 report does not suggest any wrongdoing.
Central banks, reserve banks, all over the world are having problems, and they support the government or otherwise to ensure stability. Why are they doing all these things? So they should back all these things with the needed legal whatever it is. And also they should check whether Bank of Ghana's financial statement does not actually reflect the international financial reporting standards, whether there's materiality issues, whether the expenditures Bank of Ghana has made, there are no material evidence to underpin.
The World Bank says it is halting new loans to Uganda because its new anti-gay law contradicts its core values. Homosexual acts were already illegal in Uganda, but anyone now convicted faces life imprisonment under the new law which was enacted in May. A founding member of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklu, has called for government to reconsider its decision to contribute troops to the ECOWAS intervention in Niger, while citing concerns over potential implications and the need for a comprehensive diplomatic approach. Dr. Nyaho Tamaklu says the country's military is not equipped for such exercises.
This is a pure infantry work. You are fighting an infantry battle. This has nothing to do with Navy or Air Force. The Air Force, we don't even have the aircraft. So what sort of contribution are we going to give? We have to assess ourselves first. And with the 2 brigade, any good commander will advise his government, a particular Ghana government, not to get involved in this militarily.
Oh, there's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. Now, let's stay a bit further on Dr. Nyaho Tamaklu, because he makes the point about the fact that if politicians, in his words, return monies stolen and shipped out of this country, it would help in the recovery process from this economic crisis that we find ourselves in. It was one of many other things that he said during the 3 Business TV3 Leadership Forum earlier today.
Absolutely leadership. And let me say that I would like to just equate leadership in general with that of the military, because I have experience in that. A leader must, number one, know his people and know exactly what they want. He must have integrity.
Integrity.
Absolutely. Without that, forget about it.
Does the current leadership we have as a country have integrity?
Absolutely no. I say no.
They don't have integrity.
I say no. Why do I say that?
Tell me.
I'll cite an example. I will still be using the military because I have that background experience. I've been a soldier before. In the military, we have hierarchies. Our army is a small army, but even big armies you see where you have field marshals and whatnot. So here I will take it from our own perspective here. When a commander, let's go to just a battalion level. When a commander of a battalion is a leader of the battalion, he knows he's a leader.
That's right.
He knows exactly what the battalion wants. He has got subordinates. We have various sessions. Battalion will give you a number of sessions will give you a company, a number of companies will give you what do you call it? A battalion. He knows whom to appoint at a particular place. And the most important thing is that he puts his ears always on the ground for a feedback.
True.
So if he finds you to be incompetent, he removes you immediately.
You don't see that playing out in this current leadership?
Look, our biggest problem to me in Ghana, if not in Africa, is the inability for the Ghanaian leader to say no on principle and take his pen. The culture of resignation, we don't know it.
Well, but the president has always defended his appointees, said that he reviews their performance on a daily basis, and they are doing well. They are meeting his expectations.
That's why I use the word integrity. If he has it, he will never dare. No, you are not doing well as a leader. Your subordinates are not doing well. This is it's known to every Ghanaian. Even children know that. This country is running on autopilot at the moment.
The country is running on autopilot.
Absolutely, I'm telling you. NPP is my party.
Indeed.
and I can say anything. No one can do anything to me. What I'm saying, others cannot say. And what hurts me is that the younger ones coming are not learning from the mistakes of some of the leaders at the moment, but they are copying the mistakes.
We'll have more of Dr. Nyawo Tamaklo and the other speakers who spoke earlier today at the 3 Business TV3 Leadership Forum here on Ghana Tonight. There's a conversation that we're building on the back of a number of things that they said. But coming up tonight, another twist in the matter of the stolen cash from the home of the former Sanitation Minister, Cecilia Abinadapa, as the Office of Special Prosecutor, understand, has frozen her bank accounts containing substantial amounts of money in dollars and cedis. Some interesting details are playing out, and yesterday we laid a foundation and chronicling how this case has traveled right from the get-go, with the number of suspects 4 increasing to 5, and yesterday we got to know about 8, and then also some very interesting detail in the charge sheet, the amended charge sheet that we showed you yesterday. Now, on what basis or in what specific case of the law is the special prosecutor going ahead now to freeze the accounts of Cecilia Dapa? There's something also in reference to what was found in her 2 houses in Abelempe encantonment. We'll get to that. My colleague Dennis Paberi-Wadam has been studying the updates on this case. He joins me. Dennis, what do we know?
Well, so the latest is that the bank accounts, 2 of them, one a CD account and the other a dollar account, of the former Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources, Cecilia Abinadapa, have been frozen by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. This is coming on the back of the arrest that was effected on the 24th of July, 2023, where she was committed to bail. Thereafter, her home was searched, and thereafter, we were told that some investigations were going on. So this is part of the whole investigation that the Office of the Special Prosecutor is doing in respect of the huge sums of money that were found in her house, which have also become the subject of controversy, under which some 8 persons are now standing trial or being accused for having stolen those monies. So that is the basis for it. The latest now is that the bank accounts of the former minister have been frozen by the Office of the Special Prosecutor.
In fact, so on what law is OSP now freezing the accounts? What
so when you comb through the Office of the Special Prosecutors Act 2007, Act 959, you would notice that Section 38 of the Act empowers the Special Prosecutor to, as part of investigations where he deems necessary, to direct the freezing of the property of a person or entity which is being investigated, and also specified property held by a person or entity other than the person or entity being investigated or prosecuted. Now, the special prosecutor has within 14 days after the freezing of the property to apply to the court for a confirmation of the freezing, and that is what Section 38 of the OSP Act says. Now, this is to suggest that, we gather now that this application has now been made. So when you look at Section 39, it talks about the Office of the Special Prosecutor within 14 days making an application to the court so that the freezing order, so that the courts will affirm the freezing order for him to continue the investigation. I see. So when you do the calculation between 24th of July, when the office, the former minister was arrested, and when investigation started, Monday would have been the 14th day. What we are now learning is that the Office of the Special Prosecutor has made an official application to the courts so that that freezing order will be affirmed. And we also understand that this application will be heard in the courts in the coming days, specifically on Thursday.
You mean next week, Thursday?
Next week, yes, in the coming Thursday. This Thursday.
You mean tomorrow?
Tomorrow is Thursday, yes.
Tomorrow is Thursday.
Yes.
I see.
So that is what we are gathering. And we are also looking at on what basis that this order may be, or the application may be granted by the court. So when you look at Section 40, it provides the instances under which the court will satisfy itself before granting an order for freezing the account of somebody. So you'd find that the first one talks about if the respondent is being investigated for corruption or corruption-related offenses. Mind you, the reason we have a respondent here is that the application by its nature has to be on notice. What it means is that the person whose account you are seeking to freeze has to be informed that this is what is going to happen. The person has to be served of the processes, and the person will have the right to also be heard. So before the court will come to that conclusion, it must satisfy itself that this person you are talking about is being investigated for corruption and corruption-related offenses. What we do know, per the statement of the Office of the Special Prosecutor on the 24th of July, was that the former minister was under arrest in respect of corruption and corruption-related offenses. So that gives us an idea of exactly what OSP is doing. It also talks about the fact that the respondent has to be charged with corruption or corruption-related offenses. As it stands now, we are unaware officially that the former minister has been charged. What we only know is that she is under investigation. But that is also something that the court will be looking out for in granting that particular freezing order. There's also debate about reasonable grounds to believe that the property is tainted.
Okay.
Now, the property here we're talking about is money. Or yes, so the question of as to whether the money is tainted or not will also arise, and that the court will also have to satisfy itself before granting that particular order. So there are quite a number of things that the court will have to look at in granting that particular order. But what we do know for now is that the two bank accounts, which we understand contain some substantial amount of money, have been frozen, Alfred.
Interesting points there. And now, so the way things are playing out, it points to some questions, you know, because, Dennis, if this monies, you know, some reports have quoted millions of dollars and CDs as well, were lodged in a bank account. There are questions now raised about what they said bank or the financial institution, questions they asked about the source of the money and how much the money was even building up within which a particular period to that said, you know, amount of the dollars in that particular account as well, whether there were that due diligence by that particular financial institution. And that's why we want to get a bit more into this. Mariada is the acting executive director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. Also joining us is Professor Kojo Appiagyei-Etua. He is a professor of law and also a lecturer at the University of Ghana Law School. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on Ghana Tonight. Professor, let me first of all take your thoughts on the freezing of the account of Cicely Adapa by the OSP and the details of the law that my colleague Dennis has just put out.
In the first place, as you know, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has the powers of a police officer as defined under the Criminal and Other Offences Act. And so there are certain situations where the Office of the Special Prosecutor can act without a resort to the courts. And that is where when we are talking about the issue of the freezing of the assets, where there is the fear or concern that the assets may be moved to a new place, or it may hinder investigations or the prosecution of the case. In such a situation, the Office of the Special Prosecutor can act on his own powers to cause the freezing of the assets. However, the Office of the Special Prosecutor will have to proceed to court within 7 days to confirm the freezing of the assets and to justify why the freezing is necessary in connection with the prosecution or the investigation of the case.
I see. And Merada is also joining us now. Mary, so you also been following this case quite closely. From the anti-corruption perspective, the step taken by the special prosecutor in freezing the accounts of Cecilia Dapa, and then we understand already that the court documents revealing that he has actually filed a motion to seize the funds, which were also, that's the monies found in her two houses, that is in the Abelempe and the cantonment houses, in addition to the money in the accounts as well. That's what's happening now. Mary. Hello? We'll try and reconnect and get that clarity and connection to Merida. But the same question to you, Professor Tia. This particular move by the special prosecutor to not only freeze the accounts of Cecilia Dapa, but also we understand that he is also going through a motion to seize the money that was found at the two residences of Cecilia Dapa, the Abelempe one and the cantonment ones as well, Prof.
The court will determine the number of days that the freezing can take place. And so if more time is needed, then the OSP will have to go to court. And that is what it has done in this case, because there was already a freezing. And I think the time frame, either within the act or by, as is determined by the court, is coming to an end. So according to the Office of the Special Prosecutor, that act, it's the office has to go back to the courts to call for extension and to give reasons for the call for the extension. And this is done on notice. So it means that the respondents will have the option to also determine or to fight against the extension of the freezing, for example.
Mary, if you can hear me now, I was asking about, from the anti-corruption perspective, this move by the OSP. How does this strike you? That he's not only focusing on freezing the details, that's the cash in the two accounts belonging to Cecilia Dapa, but also to seize the monies that were found in her two houses.
Thank you very much, Alfred. Good evening, and good evening to my co-panelists and to your viewers as well. It is heartwarming to, for once, know that an institution is working and working expeditiously from the civil society and also anti-corruption perspective. We believe this is very, very timeless. And then also, if you remember the last time I mentioned that it is not just about what has been uncovered, what about what hasn't been. Today, we are all hearing that the OSP's office made a significant discovery, which they want the court to then help them to continue to freeze. We think that is very good for us. Apart from helping them to continue to freeze, they would also then, they are talking about other accounts that even go beyond what they have located. And so it means that at this particular time, we are particularly happy that this is going on, and we only urge that more of this should happen, and not just for the OSP, but also within and without the anti-corruption space, so that will make significant gains for this country. What we are all seeking is the truth, and if the truth is then found, the OSP in going to court would then determine if the assets are also indeed frozen. Then it means it gives them more time to delve into other aspects of this case. And we believe it is very good in the fight against corruption. Another thing I wanted to say would be that looking at an institution of state that is carrying on this investigation with such panache, and also looking at it from a very fair perspective. That is what they are supposed to be doing. So doing this and doing it timeously, and also not recognizing the fact that this is a person who is within government, this is a person who is a cabinet minister, and this is a person who is held in high esteem within the governing party. This is only, or it is an indication that when given the opportunity, the powers or the apparatus of state would do their work. And we only hope that the other organs which would be taking over or which would be adjudicating this process would also look at it from that point of view and help Ghanaians to benefit from some of these cases, because it also then breeds the trust we all want to see in the fight against corruption.
And then we're showing you, our viewers, the suspect yesterday when they appeared in court. Those are the visuals we were showing you earlier. The ex-boyfriend, current boyfriend, and then also the other house help as well, as happened in court yesterday. But for you, and maybe this is in 30 seconds, how should this case travel to ensure that the outcome will be trusted by all, especially what the special prosecutor is doing? And I'm saying this because of the kind of reaction that the likes of you had to the Attorney General's advice on this particular case, of which yesterday the details of the amended charge sheet points to something contrary.
Certainly, and let me say, I spoke on another platform and made the case that in the brouhaha that we saw ensue between the police as they continue to stick to their guns, and came out yesterday to confirm as such that the monies they are talking about belonged to the former honorable minister. So it then begs the question why the Attorney General is so interested in this issue. We know he is the Attorney of State. We know he's supposed to prefer advice when it is important. And we know it is on his authority that the police is prosecuting, and so he would have a hand in some of these. But then it continues to then breed the suspicion that the people of Ghana have, that when people are in power, it becomes very difficult to investigate and prosecute such people. So we have said that it is very important for the credibility of the Attorney General's office, and also for this case, that the Attorney General looks back, reflects, and then perhaps maybe withdraw from some of the things they are doing. Admittedly, some of the advice they have preferred is good. We have mentioned that. But we believe that independence of the state institution, that is the police service, in carrying out this case, when it comes to the part on stealing, should be allowed so that they do their work and do it well. On the part of what the OSP is doing, which is clearly different from what the police are also doing, we believe that till now we have not seen any heckling or any interference happen. Let's see how the process goes. And like I said, the other organs of government would also be called to attention, because we believe that when we all work together, civil society talking, media talking, the OSP doing his part by investigating and rolling out the net to even catch more or bring out more information, then the others who are also then mandated to do the rest, like the court, should also then do so without fear or favor, because the court is a place where justice is served. So let's see how that rolls out.
Indeed. Mary, I appreciate your time. And Professor Chair, before I let you go, that same concern about the AG and as well the conduct in this, so as not to lend to that suspicion that is widely held by many members of the general public that there's some attempt to cover up or to interfere in this particular process of investigation to the Cecilia Adapa case.
Yes, you know, when the Attorney General decided to step in, that concern was raised. But legally, the Attorney General has that power in terms of the fact that the OSP's powers are limited to corruption and corruption-related cases, and even the kind of people who are alleged to have been involved in corruption. And so with regard to stealing, money laundering issues coming in, definitely the Attorney General had, but people had concerns of the fact that the Attorney General, in some respects, has not shown that office to be really independent, as, for example, the OSP has proven to us, at least at this stage of this particular case. And so it feeds into the narrative that certainly something, the Attorney General's office has something to hide, if I may put it so, for want of a better word. And so the Attorney General's office needs to be clear and make sure that that perception that people have about that office will be cleared, so that its independence will also be confirmed and be able to perform and work in tandem with the OSP to be able to unravel the mystery surrounding this case and bring it to an end where justice will prevail.
Prof, thank you so much for your thoughts on this. Really appreciate it. Prof. Kojo Appiagyei, he is a lecturer at the University of Ghana Law School. Also to you, Mary Ada, acting executive director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. And coming up next, after this quick break here on Ghana Tonight, renowned statesmen concerned about the leadership of Ghana in the Three Business Forum held earlier today. We'll bring you excerpts of that forum, including a conversation on the aspect of leadership, and also the Bank of Ghana statement that is just coming through as well, because the likes of Professor Godfrey Bokin raised fundamental concerns about the state of affairs with the Bank of Ghana's financing in the books with respect to the loss of over 60 billion that was posted at the end of 2022. There's a statement from the Bank of Ghana tonight. We'll get into that, plus more. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo paint as compared to other paint brands on the market. We take equal quantities of Flamingo paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo superior paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Hey, Ojam, you're looking good, oh my friend. Is there something you're not telling me?
Yes, I'm feeling very good and strong.
What is the secret?
It is not a secret. My farmer used Yaramila Activa on me 2 weeks after planting. This boosted my growth. Then after, he used Yarabella Sulfan as top dressing when I was at knee length. My goodness and strength is because of Yaramila Activa and Yarabella Sulfan. Yara fertilizers have nitrite-based fertilizers that are readily available for plant upkeep and do not over-acidify the soil. Yara fertilizers also contain micronutrients such as zinc, boron and manganese, which aid in yield and crop quality. If you want to look good like me, then your farmer must go for Yara fertilizers. They are available in accredited agri-input shops nationwide. For more information, call 0308-251-060 or visit our webpage at yara.com.gh or Facebook page. And there is more. Yara retailers can also benefit from selling Yara products by just downloading Yara Connect app and scanning QR codes on the Yara sack at the point of sale to earn rewards. Use Yara fertilizers for better yield and quality produce.
Everybody knows Acrobato, and if you know Acrobato, it means you know M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic. M-Punch Homeopathic Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about M-Punch homeopathic clinic. Who be careful endpoint one?
Pa. Chese na me ankasa me period na say problems wom. Ntina ma wo ho idea ma me. Papa chese na nya asem ketewa. Na me kwan point no, mo hwe me modem no mo hwe bibia na so mo meduro. Mo meduro me fire no. Ene ma won kra me enu. Kofro kwa na mkwan mu a eba.
And everything yourself.
Me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante. And then you call endpoint. Omama nura and then the white dear what me sorry anante.
That's endpoint for you. Hello.
Hey, what chair?
Okay.
A free bra would the endpoint what dance. I'm a choir no. Me do so some name koye and pass on my main and imagine a sabema. Now me be here for the one in Jarisa.
You heard everything. I have secret. Endpoint is my secret. Endpoint homeopathic clinic. I'm free.
Hey, what will you do with some cool $2,000? Okay. Here to Win game show is exactly what you need. It's the only game show when you are already rich before you begin to pay. Every week, 2 lucky people stand the chance of winning money. All you have to do is go through some quizzes and fun games. Somebody from Peru is called Perusian. Whatever you say, you have to be proud because your family people are watching you. Somebody from Madagascar is called Malagasy. Correct!
Okay, let's go.
It's you that will tell me let's go. You are not even winning.
Okay.
Hold and stand and just fasting.
Amazing.
Just go.
Ayikwe Ama. Be proud. Okay. First of all, is Ayikwe supposed to be a man or a woman? Put it on your forehead. Ayikwe. Be a part of this game show right here on TV3 and take home some cash. Oh my God! Come join us on Here to Win game show where you win it all. Hey, yo, mama! Hey, mama! Hey, yo, mama! Hey, mama! Here to Win!
Here to Win, premiering on Saturday, 12 August at 8 p.m. on TV3. Brought to you by Kill It Insecticides.
It is very difficult. The Romans had a saying, who guards the guardians? You know, you put at the gate of Rome. The gate on the financials of Bank of Ghana, insurance company. So if they cannot maintain a certain level of prudence, that's why I'm saying that the problem is dire. And some of these things should not be public discussion. It should be behind the scenes because the people outside, they are taking a look at us. Normally, when you have an IMF program, immediately you sign. The big boys are in the room. The boys will behave. The economy starts picking up. Investors start coming in. Now, it's not happening. Why? Because the problem, as I see it, historically, I've been seeing it before anywhere in the world.
Not seen it before. What's happening in this country?
What is happening in this country and how we are going to get out of it. The business community doesn't seem to realize that because when they were negotiating, the Association of Bankers was negotiating for the banks. Are they shareholders in the banks? I think for the first time during all this economic crisis, the Minister for Finance in a statement to Parliament said, we are in a deep crisis. We haven't heard that before. And the crisis we are in now, we've never been there before. We are bankrupt as a nation. We are having it difficult to pay salaries. Teachers, nurses who have been to allowances are not being paid. We are finding it difficult to pay government bonds. You know, banks, insurance companies are asked to put their monies in government bonds because it's safe.
Yes.
Now it is not safe. It took us a long time to get Ghanaians to put their monies in banks.
Well, celebrated economist Kwame Pianing there. Now, this was during the Three Business TV3 Leadership Summit earlier today. The Bank of Ghana has issued a statement in response to this and a number of things, including the new headquarters they are building, which the NDC raised yesterday at the press conference. This is the statement from the Bank of Ghana. They are insisting that the over 60 billion cedis loss in 2022 has very little implication for the operations of the Bank of Ghana because as a central bank, it is not a commercial bank and cannot be insolvent or bankrupt. The Bank of Ghana, in this statement you're seeing, which came through tonight, saying that its earlier position that much of the losses were occasioned by the government's domestic debt exchange program indeed is what it is. And in fact, as a result, they have already sovereign spreads on Ghana bonds widened, signaling investor dissatisfaction with the stance of fiscal policy and so on. And that the budget for 2022, which was read in 2021, failed to address the fiscal concerns as the budget was even more expansionary by about 23% with a raft of revenue measures to raise financing and so on and so forth. And that this matter was actually tabled before Parliament by the Finance Minister when he briefed them on the domestic debt exchange program and other things. That's in the statement from the Bank of Ghana that you see on the screen. And Professor John Gachi is the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School. He's joining us on Zoom. Thank you so much, Professor Gachi, for your time. Now, this is the position of the Bank of Ghana. In fact, they are reiterating a number of things, including the fact that central banks are not commercial banks. So technically, central banks cannot be insolvent or bankrupt. Is that consistent with what the structure and workings of the central bank should be?
Is no. No, because central banks cannot be technically insolvent. That does not mean that is not the reality. The reality is that when we look at the financial statement of Central Bank of Ghana, it shows that the liabilities are more than the asset of the bank. And that is what we are saying. The central bank is in the situation that it cannot pay its liabilities. The central bank in a situation which is called insolvents. So the central bank cannot impose it on us that for them it is called technically not insolvent. No. We keep saying, in fact, there is a reason why in selecting the board of the central bank, the act says that one person at least should be a chartered accountant. It is because of the importance placed on financial statement. So for the central bank trying to let us know that financial statement is not important, if financial statement indicate that there is something that stakeholders should not be happy about, the central bank will wish it away. That will not be countenanced, that will not be encouraged. Commercial banks are in business to make profit. And central bank cannot be bold and say that they are in their business to make losses. No. It is the same financial statement, the way we analyze the financial statement of commercial banks, it is in the same way we analyze the financial statement of central banks. We have various financial ratios. Some of them has to do with whether or not those in the affairs of the central bank have managed the institution well or not.
I see. But I'm looking through the statement. They also reiterate the point that this over 60 billion loss has very little implications for the operations of them, that's the central bank. Is this position consistent with the details of this financial statement of 2022 that has been published?
Posted losses. Some central banks have posted losses for reasons different from what the government, the Central Bank of Ghana has adduced. For example, today, the Central Bank is releasing a statement that the problem started from 2019. Okay? The Central Bank is now saying that they have issued bond of about 10 billion COVID bond. And that time, 10 billion, at the time that the central bank was doing that, the central bank did not go to parliament. The central bank is now telling us that they went to parliament after DDEP. The question is that the requirement of the law? The answer is no. So all that the central bank is saying is not adding up. The point is that the bank is not individual banks. The bank is a state institution and it has stakeholders. If stakeholders express misgiving about what they have done, I believe the central bank's duty is to let the stakeholders know that within 5 years, within 2 years, within 3 years, they will start seeing the balance sheet of the central bank positive. And these are the steps they have taken to ensure that they reach that goal. It is not the duty of the central bank to tell us that losing 60 billion in 1 year should be wished away. That must not be wished away. So the central bank must get this clear. And the central bank is only supposed to support government activities 5% of previous year's tax revenue. When epidemic or whatever have been declared, when that have been declared, the rule is that the governor, the controller accountant general, and the minister of finance should meet and determine the extent of the excess that will be allowed by Bank of Ghana to lend to government. The question is, have you ever heard the Bank of Ghana announce any excess? No. So that rule is not for open-ended utilization of the resources of Bank of Ghana on all activities of the government. The central bank is behaving as if when the government of Ghana mismanages its fiscal activities, it is their duty to just come in and clear the mess. That is not what the law anticipates. So the central bank should get it clear.
Right. Professor John Gachi, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight, Dean of University of Cape Coast Business School. And still staying with the 3 Business Leadership Forum, the Bank of Ghana has responded to a number of things, but there's also another leg of the conversation, which is leadership. And this is Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng's submission earlier today.
Sometimes, at some point, I just ask myself, so who are the leaders?
You ask who are the leaders?
Yes. Who is leading us?
The president.
You know, yes, theoretically, yes. I mean, we vote for somebody to lead us. Indeed. But then you have people who have not been voted for, they have no position anywhere, but they appear to be taking decisions and deciding for us and disrespecting us. So, you know, in some countries, there will be people behind the scenes from various backgrounds, political, ethnic, who meet and decide and say that, look, this is our country. We are not going to make it go down. Yeah. And therefore, they help take decisions. I mean, and I don't think we have anything like that here. A body that is supposed to do that is not doing that.
Well, that's the Council of States.
Well, I don't know whether the Council of State is doing that, you know. So what I'm saying is that we need to identify who our leaders are.
Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng there. Professor Enoch Entry Opoku is also a leadership expert, is joining us on Zoom. Thank you for time on Ghana Tonight. Insanity, they say, is doing the same things and expecting different results. So what has to change in this leadership structure that we have as a country?
You are Alfred. Leadership is too important to be left leaders alone. And leadership is common. When we say leadership is common, it means even in the animal world, there are leadership. So when elephants are moving, the wise elephant among them is their leader. When you see bees, the one who can dance very well is their leader. When you see even ants crawling on the ground, there's a leader there. When you see baboons there, there's one sitting on top of the tree guiding and seeing if there's somebody coming so that that baboon can give an alarm and everybody can run for shelter. So leadership is even in the animal world. And that is why in the human world, we need leadership. But I have said on many platforms that 80% of leadership is followership. That's what the research has shown. So unfortunately in Africa, we are allowing the 20% to control the 80%. And for some reason, nobody wants to talk about the wrongs in leadership. That's not how it's supposed to be. So leaders use everyday ingenuity to solve problems, big and small. That is why we need leadership. And leadership is a universal phenomenon across all cultures. So everywhere you go, in every society, big or small, we need leaders. And because we are groups, you know, we are a big group called Ghana. And every group needs a leader because the simple definition of leadership is an individual influencing another individual or a group of people to achieve a common goal. As a country, we have a common goal. And these common goals are in governance. And in governance, we are preserving the values.
So, Professor Ocansey, what is wrong? And they say there has to be that deficiency, which is also now the basis for the call for something else to change. So what has to change so that all of us, the people, will benefit from the kind of democracy that we are practicing now, which clearly it's not benefiting the people down the ladder?
Well, I've seen a lot of arguments. People are saying that we don't need democracy, but we do. Because Africa alone has over 3,000 different languages. If you have that kind of huge diversity, then democracy should be the only way that everybody's voice will be heard. But you know, Lord Acton said power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. But Aung San Suu Kyi said that it is not power that corrupts, it is the fear of losing power that corrupts many people in developing countries. So in Africa, we've had that kind of problem where the fear of losing power is really corrupting people. Once they get hold of power, the fear of losing it makes them so corrupt. So in our societies, the elites have power. And I've seen somebody, you know, define democracy now as government of the poor, you know, government of the rich, rather, for the rich, observed by the poor. So we have governance where rich people are into governance. And then if you want to contest them, then bring money, because they have money to contest those elections and give to delegates. If you don't have money, you cannot contest in elections. So it's become, our democracy has become, most of our leaders now are not leaders. They are investors. They have invested money into politics and they are recouping it in a way from the people. But we need leaders. For me, anywhere that I've been, I am not a politician.
Prof, appreciate your time and thank you very much for providing these solutions. Professor Ocansey Opoko is a leadership and governance expert. Thank you for time here on Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, the World Bank has held back on some loans to Uganda because of the country's anti-LGBTQ+ law. Tonight, we ask if there is any cause for alarm or concern for Ghana, which is currently on the verge or going through the process of passing this anti-LGBTQ+ bill currently before Parliament. Now, if you recall, earlier, that's sometime last month, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumanakins for Bagbin, Right Honourable, stated his commitment to ensure that Parliament passes this bill into law before the end of the year. Take a look.
The data is very clear. In 50 years' time, there will be no Europe. It's perished. It's only non-Europeans that will be in Europe. America, 100 years. And so they know that they are going and they want us to follow. We will not do that. We won't follow them. You can see beautiful ladies like this and, you know, fine, handsome gentlemen. But that one is even the easier part. When you talk about gayism, lesbianism, and no, that is easy. When you go to the queer, where somebody gets up to say that, me, I want to be like a cat. feel like it. I want to behave like a cat. I want to do this. And me, I want to marry a dog. Then they take the person and the dog and go and wed. And you say this is a human right? Even this is not animal left.
All right, so that's the Speaker of Parliament there. But let's go on to the telephone. Nelson Roxon Dafiamepo is Member of Parliament for the South Dai constituency. Also, one of the sponsors of this anti-LGBTQ plus bill currently going through parliamentary process. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. You've heard what's happened in Uganda, right? Are you, the sponsors of this anti-LGBT plus bill in Ghana, concerned about the possibility of this playing out in Ghana if this bill becomes law eventually?
Thank you very much. Let me say that Ghana is not perturbed by what's happening in Uganda. In any case, the World Bank is a bank for all of us. So it's not a bank for some group of people in this world minus Africa. Africa has 54 nations. And I think that if the World Bank wants to blackmail Africa into accepting LGBTQ practices, I think they are wrong. They are biting more than they can chew. We will not back down today, we will not back down tomorrow. We have a right to seek funding or loans from the World Bank as a member. They cannot deny an African country which is a member of the World Bank group. The World Bank is set up with the funding from every nation in this world. So I heard the news. I've spoken to a few of my colleagues. But the leader of our group, Honorable Emmanuel Kwesi, has already granted some interviews. We remain resolute as a country in passing this legislation, and no threat or intimidation from any country or any international organization will cower us into submission. We have already indicated clearly that it even appears that we, the sponsors of this legislation, we have been blacklisted and may not be granted visas to travel to some other countries. But that is also not a border for us.
Well, but this concern of donors and other agencies withholding funding from Ghana if this bill becomes law was expressed by some people. Okay, but the reality is that we're still depending on these multilateral agencies or multinational agencies, and then also these donors for funding. Okay, so if we are confronted with this reality that Uganda is faced with now, can we get out of that situation if it happens?
Isn't Saudi Arabia part of the World Bank group? Don't they have the right to take loans from the World Bank? Isn't all the Muslim countries part of the World Bank group and the IMF? Don't they take funding from the World Bank? Ghana is not the first country, or Uganda is not the first country to have passed an anti-LGBT law. An European country called Hungary has passed an anti-LGBT law. Why hasn't the World Bank asked them or told them that they will cease funding to Hungary anytime they come for loans or financial assistance? So clearly, it's another opportunity for them to exhibit racist tendencies. It's another opportunity for them to exhibit tendencies by intimidating us, blackmailing us into cower under pressure and abandon this project. So it won't happen in Uganda and it won't happen in Ghana.
Nelson Roxon Dafiamepo is Member of Parliament representing the South Dai constituency, on the sponsors of this anti-LGBTQ plus bill in Parliament. Thank you. On that note, I want to say thank you so much for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. Join us same time tomorrow. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.